Are we live? I think we might be live. Yes, I believe we are live. Hello and welcome to the BUSR Le Mans Spring Series. We are currently at round 4, round the track of Fuji. I'm not alone in the comments box. I'm very glad to have Kit along with me. Hello, Kit.
Hello, Max. Thank you for having me. This is my first time watching a BUSR race, and in fact, it's my first time commentating with you. So glad to be here. Glad to witness an LMU race on Fuji Speedway. It's not a track I'm very familiar with, but I'm sure I will be in the next hour and a half or so.
Yeah, well, don't you worry. I'll try and keep you up to date as best as I can. At the minute, we are watching the Hypercars qualifying. They've got 7 minutes left of their qualifying session. We've already had the GTs out on track. We'll be running through their qualifying order in just a moment's time when we're about to start the race later on. We are currently looking at Fisher in that beautiful liveried NTU Toyota. I believe we got two once again of the 2 hypercars this year, this race. Right, so Fuji, what can I say about Fuji? It's a decent length track of 4.5 kilometers, and it is, well, that's equivalent to 2.8 miles with a humongous start finish straight of 1.4 kilometers long, which will be important to get turn 16 perfect round the Panasonic corner to get down into turn 1 for the fastest time possible. That is vital for this track. Straight line speed is going to be important. Slipstream will also be important into that heavy braking zone of turn 1. We've got 16 corners round this track. We are not using that chicane after the Dunlop corner, though, so technically it is 15 corners round here. I'll be honest, there's quite a few corners with corner names. I'll be doing my best to try and get as many of them right as possible. Now, Kit, I know you've been gaming a lot recently. What have you been taking your fancy?
Well, in recent times, I've been doing a lot of racing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's a fantastic GT3 based game, although you do get to explore a little flavour of GT2s and GT4s as well, if you have the DLCs available. Unfortunately, Fuji is not in the game. There are a large variety of tracks available to you, including a race. I think next week I'm doing a race around Suzuka, obviously the other major Japanese circuit in GT3 multi-class with the GT4s as well.
Yeah, Suzuka is, well, up there, but I'll be honest, I think Fuji takes it, especially through this final sector that Coffin will be taking round. He was the only surviving hypercar last time out round Monza out of the 2 starters. That Cadillac, honestly, it sounds absolutely incredible. This last sector is really dependent on your rear stability until the final corner, where it's really dependent on the front end grip. Coffin will be crossing the line, racking up the gears into 6th, crossing the line right about now. Let's see if he improves. He does by a couple tenths of a second in front of Fisher in that Toyota. Yes, there are only 2 hypercars out today, so it will be the battle of the Americans and the Japanese. The Cadillac versus the Toyota, and so far Coffin in the Cadillac has the upper hand. So we've got to thank our sponsors around the BUSR Le Mans Spring Championship. Of course, we've got to thank Grid Finder for helping us out as much as possible. They've been really useful in the past and, of course, in the present, and hopefully in the future too. We're watching Fisher now crossing the line. He will be improving a little bit, but not quite enough to try and steal that top spot off the Cadillac's Coffin's Cadillac. I've got to say that NTU livery is one of the great looking liveries around this track. It's Toyota's home Grand Prix endurance race, and it does look good at home, as it has been in the last few races too. It's definitely this long, I believe it's 100R, a very long sweeping corner that the outside tires will be dying after for a little break. But of course, it is Fuji. There is little to no brakes around this track, as Fisher will be heading down into turn number 10. One of the key overtaking opportunities around this track, as he will swoop uphill towards I'd say the hardest section of this track, one of the blind sections as well.
Honestly, looks quite bizarre watching the cars fly through turn 10 and not taking the chicane where you have to slow down so much. That's something I've never actually seen before. But yeah, like you said, that Toyota livery looks absolutely fantastic. Very bold, very striking, and whoa, track limits. No, maybe not. Perhaps a little bit of netcode, a little bit of lag on the exit of turn 16.
Yeah, losing the back end a little bit at turn 16. He's going to be compromised the whole way down the straight and doesn't improve in that last sector. It's a shame because there was a purple sector too as well, with both hypercars in the pit lane. I fear this could be the end of qualifying for the two hypercars we got out so far. It's a 125.9 to beat for Coffin in that Cadillac for now. It's a 126.2 so far for Fisher. It's time. We've seen smaller gaps, we've seen bigger gaps, and we've seen those gaps come down. So for Fisher, it is not over and out for now, but he will need to be leaving the pit lane in the next 20 or so seconds to get a decent shot at another qualifying lap. But I fear, like I said before, this could be the end.
Yeah. With no action, nobody leaving the back garages, looks like it's the end for those guys.
Yeah, a minute left now on the timing screen. Yeah, it's a real shame, as Coffin once again will be taking back-to-back poles around relatively different tracks. Last time out it was Monza. This time out it is Fuji, just showing how comfortable he is in that Cadillac and how comfortable it can be as well. And a 25.9, that is an absolute rocket time in one of these Cadillac hypercars. And it's clear that Fisher will not be going back out on track, which is a real shame, as I think Fisher will put up a challenge this race. Race-wise, strategy is important. We, of course, got tyre wear, but we also have the virtual energy tank. And of course, it is the virtual energy tank because that is a combination of fuel and hybrid power, the electricity power that helps the cars get up to a higher speed. Now, that is qualifying done for the hypercars. We will try and see what the grid positions are for the rest of the starting grid in the GT class in just a moment's time, because we will be out on track for the 75 minutes race in just a moment's time. We'll try and get you guys watching as best as we can. I'll be honest, we might have some technical difficulties throughout this race.
For a race start.
Yeah, that's a warning. We got the race start in just a moment's time. We'll be getting the cars out on grid as we speak. Right, I do apologise. We are having some technical difficulties with Kip Morgan. I believe he has left the broadcasting live stream for now, but hopefully we'll be getting him back out on track as soon as possible. We are having cars lining up on the grid now. We'll be seeing the positions in just a moment's time. I'll try my best to sort this out for you guys. It isn't the easiest thing. We are trying our best within our team. Yeah, we're doing our best. Yeah, you can see the cars lining up on the grid. The starting procedure will be starting in just a moment's time. Kip, you're back. We missed you.
I'm so sorry. But I'm back, and the cars are also on the grid.
Yeah, we're getting ready for the race start in just a moment's time. There isn't any formation lap. There is a rolling start, though, to lead us to green flag racing. The cars will be all lined up 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, all the way down to the back of the grid. And we will be hopefully seeing a great race start. We want clean battles, but we want close battles as well.
As someone new to the BUSR and LMU, Max, who should I expect to come out on top today? Is there going to be a close and hard-fought challenge at the top, especially in that packed GT3 class?
Well, last time out in Monza, it was incredibly close, especially between the McLarens. They kept on making contact, and we even had a lot of cars into the wall, which obviously we don't want to see, but we also want to see wheel-to-wheel banging door racing as close as possible. So yeah, definitely look out in the GT field for a great set of overtakes, a great set of slipstreaming, and a great set of battles. The two at the front of the grid, both relatively experienced in their two cars. We've seen Fisher before in the last, or the first two rounds, took a round out last time out in Monza. And then, of course, we got the Cadillac of Fisher, who won dominantly last time. Well, he was the only one who made it to the end. So, yes, it was a very dominant performance. But we saw a lot of fuel strategy last time out in Monza, so that is definitely something to look out for. Yep, that is the cool. Formation laps have started. We'll see them crawling around the grid to see what is happening. I believe you guys might even get a better view than me at this rate, but hopefully we could see what we will be having. The two hypercars leading the way as we go green. They're lining themselves out. The Cadillac of Coffin in slightly ahead of Luke Fisher. It will be Coffin's turn. He chooses when to go. He chooses when to go flat out racing. We see the GT field behind McLaren on pole position, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top in 75 minutes time. As we can see, the Cadillac Coffin lining himself up for the race start.
Restart is crucial here, but on a long distance race, it's important to remember that the race is not won on the first lap.
Green flag.
We got green flag. We are racing, and Coffin gets a brilliant launch, as well as Fisher. Fisher might try and tuck in to get an early slipstream into turn one. Now Coffin covers up Fisher for now into turn one. Heavy braking zone. You can see the GT field relatively clean as well for now. Alexa at the back of the grid in that black and pink liveried Lamborghini. She is definitely going to do something later on in this race. We see dominance from Alexa. We'll try and see how she fares later on in the race. Try and fight her way through the pack, but it will be interesting to see what the rest of the GT field. They're relatively clean through the first sector round. Oh, as I say that, we have a Mercedes that does get spun around. I believe that is Chong in the 74 Mercedes. We've seen him having issues at other sections of or other races this year. Hopefully he can have a relatively clean race. He is still stuck there currently at the exit of 300R, 100R, sorry, which is a difficult place. Now the GT field cleanly through 100R, and it is a battle at the back. Alexa has already made up 3 places critically at the opening phases of this track. Now this is a difficult part to follow. We've got dirty air, less downforce. They're very much a downforce critical sector of the track, but it is still Coffin leading the way in front of Luke Fisher in that Toyota. and in the GT field, it is the Corvette of McDevitt. He has been challenging for race wins and podiums this year so far. I believe I just saw a car dive into the pit lane. I think it might have been Alexa, you know. I think Alexa has dived into the pit lane extremely early, possibly contact earlier on, but it is still a relatively intense battle at the front of the field. Now that is, I believe, really getting a little bit right. Yes, it is Alexa coming through the pit lane, I believe, possibly for a penalty, of course. Watching Gora now in that only BMW we have on the grid so far. The BMW of Gora has been getting quite door-bangy recently in the last few races, having quite a bit of contact, but has almost always been relatively up the front and has the pair of McLarens in front of him. It'll be interesting to see how he deals with the two of Binder in the 77 and McEwen in the 71 McLaren. We've seen the McLarens go hard at each other in the last few rounds, and it'll be interesting to see if they decide to work together, as they are manufacturing teammates. But I imagine the gloves will be off and the battle will commence from Monza into Fuji. Binder for now in third place, McEwen in second place. 71 versus 72. The slipstreaming is vital round this track, heading down into turn 1 now. Binder is making a move, late lunge, but doesn't quite get a full nose in front, pushing McEwen through the corner. Now we've got the battle further back on the grid between the McLaren and the Porsche. They're both mid-engine cars, so stability is relatively equal between the 59 and the 204 Porsche of Wally. It'll be interesting to see what happens between them two, as I believe we do have battling further up. We've got the trio of cars fighting for second, third and fourth, critically 2 podium seats, and the McLarens are definitely going at it. This could play into Gora's hand, as to the BMW 46. That is Binder making a lunge through this difficult section, and the 71 is going wide as well, letting Gora through of the BMW. There is slight contact as the Gora gets through, and there is more contact of the 71 getting through the BMW. Now the BMW. Oh, we have a Toyota. That is Fisher without a rear wing. He has had some sort of damage and contact throughout that lap, and now is heading into the pit lane for vital repairs. As we see, yes, that is a wingless Toyota. The home heroes of Fisher driving that Toyota around Japan is crawling into the pit lane without a rear wing. Now, I think this must have happened earlier on into the track. We've already seen one car in the GTs spin round through 100R. Possibly there was another mistake through that long winding corner. It's extremely long. The outside tyres will be screaming for mercy as Coffin goes out wide for good measure. Now, virtual energy is vital around this track, as well as we can see. Actually, McDevitt in that Corvette having 80% compared to his rivals behind with about 60, 78 and 76. That could be crucial for later on in the race.
McLaren had a little bit of a slide on the exit of turn 10 there. He's let the BMW, the number 46, through.
Yeah, we can actually see the other McLarens getting involved now. The 59 right on the tail of McEwen of the 71 McLaren. This is another battle of the McLarens. We've seen it before in Monza. We'll see it again in Fuji. Slipstreaming will be vital, like I said before. but it's a 59 McLaren having the massive advantage of a four-way car slipstream but of course McEwen has also got a slight slipstream from Gora in that BMW. Now, turn one, heavy braking zone of the two McLarens, relatively equal. You can see the brake disc glowing as they slide on the anchors to get round turn one successfully. As we can see, Wally in the background, not too far off. Alexa Gates in that Lamborghini 35. After that penalty is in 7th place. We expect her to climb up the order quickly and efficiently when she gets a chance to climb back up. Now we see the battle. Binder in 2nd place, being chased down by Gora once again.
Yeah, these McLarens are not done yet. They are still in the hunt for that 2nd, 3rd, 4th place battle. And, well, the Corvette up front has got away pretty well. It's a great start for them so far. Quick, consistent. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the Mercedes down at the back after that early spin. We'll look back to the middle of the GT3 pack now. The 71 defending from the 59, both hunting on the back of that BMW.
Teaming up against the BMW, possibly slightly vulnerable this time around, but the gap is a little bit too big for McEwen to make a move into turn one. But I don't think it is too big for Kemba to make a move into turn one on McEwen. The two McLarens battling it out once again. Strategy wise, it will be interesting to see who makes the first pit stops in around, I'd say, well, that is the damaged Toyota leaving the pit lane now with a fresh rear wing on. Multiple laps down now, 2 laps down on Coffin's Cadillac, as we can see, possibly even 3 laps down soon, depending how efficiently Fisher can slice through the pack and get in front of the GT field again. We can see already Wally, the first victim of that Toyota. Now, that Toyota might actually be net behind these GT cars on track, but the added power, the added grip, and the added downforce should make it relatively easy pickings for now, and no GT car really wants to be fighting a hypercar this early on, especially when the battles are so close. I guess we can see a possible move for the McLaren on the BMW. McEwen sizing up a move, but that corner now, without that chicane, is incredibly quick for these cars to handle. And of course we need slower corners to make relatively easy overtakes around this track, but that is important for Fisher to cleanly get through these GT packs. Now Coffin will be looking to do the same in just a few moments time.
You were asking about, or wondering about, who was going to be the first to pit. Unfortunately, it was that Toyota, thanks to rear wing damage, and that's really put him on the back foot for the rest of this race. He's made short work of the GT3s slicing through the pack, but it's not going to help him in the slightest. Now we see the number 71, and I think he's looking to the inside as they approach turn one, and he ducks back into the slipstream. Oh, and then he's come back out and he's down the inside. He's found his way down the inside of the BMW. That's a clean overtake right there.
That is definitely a textbook overtake. McEwen trying to find room down the inside, trying to find move down the outside, then makes a late move down the inside once again to get past Gora in that BMW. Gora, I don't think he could have done much there. The slipstream is just so powerful round here, but he's got to have his mirrors for another and second McLaren. But the 71 goes a little bit wide, giving this slight hint of opportunities for Gora to make a move down the inside. But they've got to manage that because Coffin in that Cadillac is slicing through the field. They both get away with it for now. Get away.
Oh, there's contact. Gone.
And that's Coffin. Coffin has been taken out by, I believe, the 71 McLaren. I think it was simply Coffin tried to cut across in front of him and got it all wrong as he made contact with the wall. You know what? I think he's been lucky. I don't think he has, but we'll be seeing him in the pit stops if he has in just a moment's time.
Oh, that was a huge moment. Like you, I don't know if he touched the wall or not. We'll have to see if he falls into the pits at the end of this lap. had to slice his way through the GT3 pack, putting them a lap down, and almost ended up finishing his own race there as we watch the BMW number 46 going side by side with the McLaren down that long front straight, approaching turn one. Another really heavy braking zone here. Brake disc glowing. Down the inside goes the 46, and he gets it back from the McLaren. Meanwhile, I don't know if you noticed, but just in the background there, the Cadillac did into the pits. Oh dear.
Now, for his sake, we hope it will be a quick stop to try and keep as much of that 2-lap lead as possible. But for our sakes, of course, we want it to be a 2-lap pit stop. We want a battle at the front of the field between the hypercars, but it is Gora taking revenge from what happened a lap ago to get back past that McLaren of McEwen, just proving how vital that slipstream is. And that front engine versus mid-engine car, now that could be definitely a battle to watch out for, and that is definitely something to look out for in the future. Now, the Corvette still leading the way in the GTs, a relatively comfortable lead of 11-ish seconds, sorry, I'm getting all mixed up with the timing screens, and Binder in second place for now, but Gora will be trying to hunt down Binder as much as possible to close up that McLaren. He's overtaken one McLaren before. He will be aiming to try and make another overtake in just a moment's time. That is the Toyota sidecar getting past Chong, who is at the back of the grid now. As we can see, possibly a move. There is a relatively fast over speed round here. You need to be, I would say, about 0.3 of a second faster, and you can gain that all down by the back straight to make a clean overtake. There is a little nudge, there is a little move for the 71, trying to make a move down the inside of that BMW. Nothing doing there though, as Gora covers him off relatively well in that BMW. Now McEwen as well, trying to make a move, and guess who has the best view of this battle? It is Kemba in the 59, watching, waiting for possibly an opportunity for an overtake or a pass.
Yeah, that was the 71 showing the bumper a little bit to Gora there. Down at turn one, and they're going to have another go, probably, I'd say, by the end of this lap. And they come back round at the start-finish straight. Or maybe it's coming
Actually, I think it's going to be now. Yeah, I think you spoke a little bit too soon, and it's a great move down the inside of, I believe, turn 11 there into the third difficult technical sector of this track. It is very difficult to get it perfect.
Ooh. Catching the BMW, having a little bit of oversteer on the exit there. That probably what prompted McEwen to make the move in the first place. McLaren snuck underneath him in the final sector. That BMW's very close coming up down this straight. I wonder if he's going to be able to make a move
I'm just
back.
watching the delay. Yeah, the slipstream now, really effective. Gora in that BMW in the wheel tracks of that McLaren. Going to go down the inside. No, going to go around the outside, trying to make a move that we haven't seen before. The McLaren covering the BMW off for now. Can there be a switcheroo? The McLaren covers it off relatively well. The BMW now has the inside line for turn 2, but will crucially have the outside line for the vital turn 3. Or will he? He's going to make a dive down the inside. No, not for now. A little bit of moving under the brakes, but it is a clean move for the 71 for now. After making a pit stop after possible slight damage, he has come into the pits and out, still in front of that Toyota of Fisher of about 20 or 30 odd seconds. I'll be honest, I can't quite tell. Yes, 30 odd seconds or so between the two now. So there could be a battle on between the hypercars still, especially as we start to enter the pit stop phases between the GTs. But of course, both hypercars have made early pit stops. That throws their strategies out of the water, as Fisher still has 76% left and Coffin has 99% of the virtual energy tank left going. So between the two hypercars, it will be a very much interesting battle later on.
As much as I enjoy this GT3 battle, and I'm sure the drivers do too, it is going to become a bit of a slog. And they're going to end up costing each other a lot of time there as we see a move a little further down the back.
Yeah, this is Alexa, who started from the back and had, I believe, a drive-through penalty too. As we see Coffin trying to get past the GTs that have been battling it out for the last few laps. The BMW is going to try and make it move down the inside. Gora not quite finding the gap, moving to the outside to get the better line through that corner, trying to get the better exit, but nothing there for the McLaren. And now that is Alexa in front of that Porsche. That is crucial for her race later on, up to 6th place, and will be chasing down these battling McLarens and BMWs. What an absolute comfortable lead the Corvette has for now at the front of the field. Oh, I cut myself off there as Gora makes a slight move on the inside. Will be now the outside for the next long right-hander for the McLaren and the BMW to tackle. We've seen issues around that corner before. Now into turn 10, light dive down the inside. The McLaren sees him coming, goes off wide for good measure. The BMW just making a move a little bit unstable on the rejoin, trying to keep 3rd place for now. The battle of the final step of the podium. The McLaren of the 59 as well, trying to get involved. Gora is actually left vulnerable to the 59 McLaren of Kemba. Now Kemba is side by side up the hill, will have the outside line, which may prove beneficial on the exit. Gora covers off the switchback and covers off the apex. Gora very much vulnerable through that mistake of McEwen. McEwen lucky to stay on the podium positions.
This midfield battle in the GT3s it's giving us a lot to talk about. You see the 59 closing up slightly on the straight. Will he be close enough to make a move? It's gonna tuck out of the slipstream and back in. Not quite close enough, although it looks very close up front between McEwen and Gora. Oh, just close. Yeah, I was wondering, Max, these guys are close enough and they're costing each other a lot of time. How effective would an undercut strategy be? Is that even a possibility in a race of this length?
Yeah, anything is possible in a race this length, but it will mean that they may have to put in extra time by the end, depending how crucial this virtual energy tank will be by the end of this race. As we saw in Monza last time out, a very much high dependent on that virtual energy track, high dependent track on that virtual energy tank, shall I say. We saw that it was very much nip and tuck at the end, as some of them even were running out of fuel, as we see the hypercar of the Toyota swooping around the outside of Wally in the Porsche. Alexa, as you can see, what a gap she has pulled out of Wally already, trying to hunt down that McLaren in front. But yeah, like you said, an early pit stop may give you track position for now, but Gora has spun round. Gora has spun round again, as well as he's trying to re-enter the track. Again, Alexa just driving past. That could have been contact. I don't think it would have been from the 59 McLaren, but it could have been from the 71. Just a slight touch on the rear end, losing all air through the front of the car, spinning the car round. Now it is once again we see a battle of the McLarens without the BMW for now. But will Gora be able to catch up? You know what? Maybe an early pit stop for Gora might be very not off the cards.
I'd been watching that BMW. Gora just getting a little bit loose, I suppose, for lack of a better term. Having a fair amount of oversteer through the final sector for a few laps now, and I think that's just caught up to him finally amongst those McLarens. A little bit of dirty air perhaps playing a factor as he looks down the inside of the Porsche through turn 3. That's Coca-Cola, by the way. And then to 100R, and he stays behind for now. And back to the two McLarens, who are quite close as they're being lapped once again by the Toyota hypercar.
Yeah, well, we've seen it between the Cadillac in the hypercar class of Coffin for the faster car to get past the slower car cleanly in Le Mans and in the World Endurance Championship. The faster car has to get out of the way to make a clean pass for the slower car, as the slower car needs to use the full track to be able to keep up with their competitors whilst can still be around the corner, and the BMW is going to make a move around the outside much more track. I'm sorry, I'm suffering from a lot of technical difficulties at the minute. I'm buffering a lot, but Gora getting past the Porsche relatively cleanly into turn 1.
Wally, I don't think Wally's done yet. He's going to look down to the inside. Hard on the brakes they go. Down the inside goes the Porsche. They're side by side. There's contact. Door-to-door contact between the two, and the Porsche is through.
Wally is not giving up without a fight at all, wanting to keep his position as much as possible in front of the BMW. The BMW making a mistake a lap ago. Wally trying to make an extra place from that mistake, but it is the two McLarens battling out, getting closer now. The 59 onto the 71 of McEwen. McEwen, very experienced in this championship. He has done a fair few races under his belt now, especially out in Monza, where we saw the McLarens going, well, very much wheel to wheel between each other, and a fair bit of contact in that race, which we do and don't like to see in a weird way, as of course we want to see a little bit of drama, as always in these races, but of course we want clean, fair racing as much as possible. Gora not giving up on that 6th place. He needs to get this pass. This is definitely punishing the rest of his race and will probably hinder his chances to get back up in front of the two McLarens. Trying to make an inside on the exit of turn 16. That could actually leave him vulnerable into turn 1 later on, but the two McLarens going at it once again. The 59 looking down the inside of the 71. Nothing doing there through turn 1 and into 2. This is a battle now further back for 6th and 7th place. Wooly now behind a fair bit of that BMW. I think Gora is safe for now into turn 1, but never say never in this sport.
That's right. He made a beautiful undercut move on the exit of turn 16. We saw that last lap, overcooked it just a little bit and left himself vulnerable to Wally by the time they got back to turn 1. But this time he absolutely perfected it and he gapped the Porsche down towards turn 1. And yeah, like you said, I think his position should be safe for now.
Yeah, the exit of turn 16 is a relatively bumpy one, so possibly not using the full exit of that corner gives the give the car a little bit more planting of the tyres and back. But of course, this battle between the McLarens has left them vulnerable to Alexa 59 getting past McEwen in the 71. 71 taking a lot more curb, a lot more speed, but they got to manage that Lamborghini behind, who has already served a pit stop penalty. We will see pit stop soon between the cars, but the McLarens still battling out. Alexa trying to make a move in her Lamborghini. It will be a battle of the engines as we see the first McLaren going into the pit. Like you said, this could be an undercut attempt, hoping that the 59 of Kemba and the Lamborghini of of Alexa have a battle and slow each other up. This could be a crucial moment in the battle for the podium.
Could absolutely swing in favour of the 59 as he goes into the pits. We'll have to see how much time, the 71 will lose, having battled with Lambo. Oh, sorry, have I got that the wrong way around? No, the 59 stayed out after he just overtook the 71. The 71's now in the pits, so I wonder how that will unfold through the next few laps.
Yeah, two very different cars on paper. The only similarity really is the rear wings, which is homologated, and the placement of the engines. Apart from that, very different cars between the Lamborghini, the Italian Bull, versus British perfection and men or women in lab coats as well. Alexa making a move down the inside, making contact as well even before the apex of the corner. The McLaren covering Alexa off. That is definitely a move that is incredibly difficult to pull off. Alexa she thought she had the overrun and the overspeed, but clearly not for now. Back into the slipstream of the 59 McLaren as we see Wally in that Porsche leaving the pit lane. Oh, Alexa in that battle coming into the pit lane. So is Kemba in the McLaren diving into the pits. This will be a crucial stop for both of them to see who comes out in front of one another. And I think Alexa actually might be punished for that, as she is in a very strange angle in the pit lane. So the mechanics will have to lift up the car, move the car back into the correct grid position or the box position to start making the change of tyres and filling up that fuel tank with very flammable liquid indeed. But Coffin still leading the way for now, and it is about a 35-second gap. So that has closed up by a second between the two. But simply, it's not enough for Fisher at the moment. He needs a little bit of a miracle to try and challenge for this win today.
Wondering if the contact between the two at turn 15 on the last lap may have hindered their pit stops a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of extra time added to fix or repair any minor damage. We watched the GT3 leader, the Corvette, entering the pits.
Yes, the Corvette for now has had a relatively simple and calm race. Coming into the pit stop now, filling up with that Binder, who has already come into the pits in that 77. Will look for that undercut move. You can see I believe, possibly kept the same tyres, but definitely a fill of that fuel and energy tank. Be interested to see the gap before. I believe it was about a 13-second gap between the two before the pit stop phase, as we see the lapped cars, the Cadillac trying to get past the slower Wally Porsche. I believe Gora has actually ended up behind Wally in the pit stop phases too.
Ooh. That could prove costly later on in the race. And there, the Corvette, once again, we haven't seen much of him, but he's had a very calm and controlled race, like you said. And sometimes those are the days you need, I suppose, in an endurance race. No issues, no major problems, no hindrances as a result of battling other cars, just straight ahead, striding off into the lead, pretty much from the green flag.
Yeah, you don't want much drama if you are in the World Endurance Championship, especially if you are leading the way. Now that is Chong out on track in 8th place at the minute in the only Mercedes, making early mistakes, costing him a fair bit of time in the pit stop phases, as we see the McLaren of the 71 behind Gora as well in the pit stop phases. So something must have happened, because Wally has jumped up to a net 5th place, as we've seen Gora and McEwen falling behind the Porsche.
I do believe that Gora is slightly quicker than Wally, but having fallen behind in the pit stop phases, he's going to have to work his way all the way back up to the rear of the Porsche and then find his way past yet again. And that's really going to cost him in the battle for P3 in this GT3 class.
Yep, that all-important podium position they are all fighting for, especially these mid-pack cars, trying to get their foot on that podium and get their hands on that trophy. Now, the McLaren still looking relatively comfortable in the hands of Kemba, but it is, for now, that Corvette still leading the way, followed by Alexa Gates in the Lamborghini, who has done an absolute outstanding job to get in front of the two. No, Gates is actually in 3rd place, I believe. So there we go. Binder in 2nd place, apologies for that, in that McLaren in the 77. Now Gates in 3rd place. 4th place is Kemba. and 5th place is Wally, making a couple of places. As we saw Gora going extremely wide through turn 16, very difficult corner to get right, as we've seen a couple of mistakes so far today. That will compromise him the whole way down this main straight. Definitely not going to be able to challenge Wally anytime soon if he keeps on making those mistakes. But Alexa Gates, starting from the back, having a critical pit lane, not stop and go, pit lane penalty where they got to trundle through the pit lane. That's an incredible slow speed. A drive-through penalty. Sorry, I don't know what is going on in my head today, but a drive-through penalty for Alexa Gates, fighting her way back up into 3rd place. Now Binder is the next victim for Gates. Solid 9.6 second gap so far. Alexa has been dominating this series so far, and it will be interesting to see how she handles later on.
Here goes the Toyota, passing once again Gora in the BMW, who seems to be struggling in that final sector. It's very tight, it's very technical, and we saw a mistake there on the last lap that compromised him down the straight. That's not going to help in his hunt for the back of that Porsche of Wally.
No, it's not. Wally. Sorry. The hypercars are 37 seconds apart now, so the gap is slowly growing. But they are on different strategies now. After their 2 mistakes, we'll be seeing Fisher in the pit lane any moment now in the next couple of laps. We'll see Coffin going a fair bit longer with 42% left in the virtual energy tank. For Fisher's sake, he'll be wanting Coffin to make a mistake, something like what happened in Monza, where he was, well, on fumes at the end of the race. Fisher will be hoping for something like that. And of course, we want clean shave driving from everyone, but we want a little bit of drama and a battle at the front of the pack too.
With 41 minutes to go in this race, it's still all to play for. And like you said, there's only 37 seconds between the 2 hypercars up the front. And there's a lot still going on in the mid-pack too, especially between these 2 McLarens. You've got the Lamborghini of Alexa there, you've got the battle ongoing here between Gora and Wally as well. Looks like Gora's gained a little bit of ground since that mistake at the end of the lap a couple laps ago. Just rebuilding confidence, that's all you need. Just consistency and relentless, no mistakes, and that's how you get good at the endurance racing.
Consistency is very much key in this game. And of course in real life as well, because guess what? If you end up fitting it in the wall, you'll probably not be finishing at a high place whatsoever. As we see Alexa Gates, still, I'm so impressed how she has managed the pit stop phase and managed to appear in 3rd place, around 8 seconds now behind Binder in that McLaren. As we will see the battle slowly closing up as well between Binder and the leader in that Corvette. We could be even seeing a 3-way battle if this keeps on getting a little bit closer for the race victory later on in this race, possibly heading into the 2nd pit stop phases of this race.
Gap there has definitely shrunk between these 2 fighting for P5 in the GT3 class. Gora hunting down the back of Wally, and Wally's going to do all he can to defend it in the next few laps. Like you said, consistency is key, and now that Gora's sort of ironing out the mistakes, ironing out the chinks in the armour, he's starting to pick up the pace here and put Wally under some pressure. Now, how will Wally respond to that? Well, good exits out the final corner out of Panasonic is vital in order to hold your position down that long start-finish straight, not being so vulnerable to the slipstream. Just looks like Gora at the minute does have more pace. There's the 2 race leaders going through. Leaders in there, each to their own category. And the gap seems to be stabilizing a little bit between the top 2 in GTs. And, oh, there's a Toyota hitting the pits for the second time in this race. Of course, the first time as a result of damage, but this one must be a scheduled stop with just 38 minutes to go. We'll flick back to this battle once again. P5 and P6, Wally and Gora flying down the main straight here at Fuji Speedway.
Hello, can you hear me? Because I'm having a lot of technical difficulties on my end, swapping Wi-Fi's and accidentally leaving myself on mute, but you should be able to hear me now.
Absolutely. Welcome back, Max. Sorry about your difficulties. It's been fun in the hot seat, speaking about the race. But I'll hand it back over to you as we watch Gora and Wally. And once again, Alexa Gates and her impressive run in this race since the drive-through penalty early on.
Yeah, closing up onto that 77 McLaren now, which will be crucial for her race to possibly fight for a 4th victory on the trot. And of course, this is round 4, so that will be our 100% success rate as we enter the halfway mark of this race, of this series. That will be a 50% success minimum for Alexa, which is almost unbeatable and almost perfect on the road to a perfect winning streak this season. Now that is the Toyota of Fisher out now, a lap down, but that doesn't really mean much because we will see Coffin possibly coming into the pit lane now. But because they are on split strategies and because Fisher made that mistake earlier on, losing his rear wing, that might mean that there is a pit stop difference between the leader, Coffin, and second place, Fisher. But I will put that to one side as we see a battle between the GTs, Gora and Wally, side by side. The BMW trying to side draft as much as possible. The Porsche getting in front now has the opportunity to side draft on him. Now the BMW of Gora having the inside line into turn 1. The Wally Porsche trying to make a move, sweeping around the outside to defend his 5th place. Will lose out for now. Will tuck in for the slipstream. The next heavy braking zone will be turn 3. Having a little look, the BMW covering off. Wally is making a move down the outside. The BMW of Gora sees that coming. Now will have the inside line. This is a corner where you cannot go too wide. And Wally, for now, takes 5th place away from Gora. Wally is not giving up on this battle, especially when we've seen Gora relatively quicker in the past few rounds in front of Wally usually, but Wally clearly not being able to show off his defending skills until now, because this is very much a defensive battle. Now covering off into turn 10, the BMW having a nose in there, not able to make a move. Gora on the exit. We've seen carnage here before with Gora involved, not this time around. Tends to back out through this sector of this very technical sector. Almost impossible, not impossible, but almost impossible to overtake round this part, as it is very hilly and very difficult to get absolutely perfect. Now the Porsche actually compromises Gora on the exit. Gora is making a move around the outside on the main straight, has the DRS, has the slipstream. Not the DRS, we're not back in Formula 1. Has the slipstream and the side draft, this time going around the outside. Wally very much covering up the inside line, will be compromised into turn 1 in that heavy braking zone.
Oh, fantastic battle between these two, still side by side. And yeah, I like that they've eliminated that chicane because it really allows people to produce runs into turn 13. It's through, once again goes Gora at turn 1. Looks like Wally overcooked it just a little bit, and he's let the BMW through, and this might be the end of this battle.
Well, I really hope not, because this battle has been very much entertaining, but Gora, yes, making a slight mistake, possibly the minimum speed slightly too much for that Porsche to stay all 4 wheels onto the track. Binder now in 2nd place, has his mirrors, that black Lamborghini in his mirrors, bearing down those evil eyes as a Lamborghini has on the front of that car. Genuinely, the designers of that Lamborghini must have loved designing those headlights, because genuinely they look like evil eyes. And of course, when you see those headlights in the mirror, you know that there is a very fast Alexa at the wheel of that car. Now, Coffin, 17% left in that energy tank. He will be trying to lift and coast as much as possible, save as much as possible to try and make this just one more stop with 33 minutes left on the clock.
I like that you picked up on the design of that Lamborghini there. It's a beautiful car, super aggressive, and like you said, evil looking, especially in those headlight design. That car's coming well over 10 years old now, so it's great to see it's still on track. Is it going to be replaced by the ingoing Temerario at some point?
Oh, I believe so. But it's very difficult. Oh, the 71 diving in the pit lane with 45% left. Now, this could be crucial as he will be having a much quicker stop if he is able to pit and get out. We see nobody else coming into the pit lane. This is interesting, as that is the only McLaren and the only car diving into the pit lane for now. Will be having a much quicker stop as he pits earlier. Won't need to fill the virtual tank as much as the others might have to do later.
Wonder if this will trigger a flurry of pit stops in the next couple laps for that GT3 group. Now we watch Chong breaking down for turn 1. It's pretty conservative there. I don't see any blowing brake discs such as we've seen on the other cars so far in this race. And we do have... Is one of the McLarens in the pits? Can't tell. Meanwhile, Alexa Gates bearing down, as we've said a few times now, bearing down on the second place McLaren of Binder. That is the 77, winding his way around turns 100R and into turn 6, which is the hairpin. Exit through 7. He'll be filling his mirrors with black and pink Lamborghini behind him. Now, it's going to be an important defensive job here, but I think the strategy is going to come into its own in this phase of the race. If that McLaren just pit, should he trigger a flurry of stops, as I mentioned before, it's going to be up to these guys. Who's going to stop first? Who's going to have the shorter stop filling up that hybrid? And who's going to have the longer stop looking to overcut? Where's the pace right now? Well, it definitely looks like Alexa Gates has the pace. She's so much quicker in this final sector. Look how she can get that Lamborghini rotated nice and early in the corner. Super stable on the curbs. And then has a brilliant exit. Do either of these two hit the pits on this lap? No, they don't. McLaren's flashing. I believe there's a car ahead, almost coming a lap down now. Rather, he's signaling to someone about something. Perhaps a pit stop, we don't know. Alexa dives out of the slipstream, perhaps. Oh no, my Amazon Echo Dot is lighting up, having just said that out loud. And down the inside she goes. It's beautiful, it's clean. It's a decisive move. It's P2 in this race.
I've just had news that McEwen in that 71 McLaren has retired out of the race. So it wasn't a strategy call to pit early to have a shorter pit stop. It was for retirement. It's a real shame because we love seeing these McLarens out on track. We love seeing door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel battles between the McLarens and, like you just saw, between the Lamborghini and the McLaren, which was a real shame for McEwen to be out of this race for now. But we look ahead. That is the lead car in the GTs, the 31, for now, leading the way.
It's a real disappointment about McEwen retiring early. He was a major figure in that battle, especially in the early phases of the race between the two McLarens, the BMW. But the race, on the face of it, has changed quite dramatically since then. And there is your leader. And around the outside of the McLaren, to the final corner.
Goffin will be diving into the pit lane this time around with 2% left in that virtual energy tank. And of course, that virtual energy tank, like I said before, is half electric power, half fuel power. Well, not half. Right, let me get my words out. There's a lot more fuel in that car than electric power, but the electric power is still crucial to get this car round the track in a timely order. The Toyota will be unlapping himself. That is not a change for the lead for now, but Fisher will be pushing along. He will see that the Corvette, the Cadillac is in the pit lane, and will be trying to push on as much as possible to try and close that gap, which was about 37 seconds before that pit stop phase. The Cadillac won't need to pit for very long, with just 28 minutes left on the clock. He doesn't need to fill up to the brim like we have seen in the past, but it is Chong out the back of the grid. Consistency, well, hasn't really been there at the first stages of these races, but now seems to be in the rhythm, seems to be not making any mistakes, which is nice to see that Mercedes in that custom livery of Chong, keeping his nose relatively clean, as we see Wally, the car in front of him, in P6 in that Porsche, 6.8 seconds behind Gora, who we've been seeing battling along very much so, making a few mistakes like that, but incredibly quick to see on track, hunting down Kemba in that McLaren, that beautiful orange, black, sorry, not orange, papaya, black and blue McLaren. 21 seconds behind Binder in third place, demoted as Alexa gets past him. Just 2.4, now 2.5 seconds up the road, who is now chasing after the lead Corvette 31, who has relatively had a clean race so far. Not really anyone around to challenge for that lead, but can Alexa change that with 26 minutes to go? 13.8 seconds is the gap that Alexa will be closing down on the Corvette.
Cadillac in the lead re-emerges from the pits. Is that a 31.2 second gap I see, is that?
Yes, it is, because Fisher must have had a much faster stint than Coffin, but to be fair, Coffin doesn't really need to push that much.
Yeah, he can manage that gap over the next 26 minutes, and ooh, thought that was a move, but there are two different classes there. Aggressive dive, I must say, from Fisher in the Toyota. He's making it work, and he's trying to minimize time loss in his bid to try and grab the lead of his category. Now, with 29 minutes to go, do you reckon there will be any more pit stops in this race, especially for the GT3s?
Yeah, I think the GT3s. Oh yeah, I think the GT3s will definitely need to come in one more time, especially Wally with just 11% left in that fuel tank. The leaders, they could push it a little bit more, but that 13.5 seconds, remember there is a gap between 22% and 32% energy, which will mean McDevitt won't need a longer stop than Alexa. Alexa will need to fill that tank just a little bit more, about 10% more than McDevitt will need to do, which will prove vital at the end of this race. May even give McDevitt that little advantage to stay at the front of the field.
I see. Thank you for that insight, Max.
Yeah, it will be very nip and tuck, to be fair, for McDevitt. I'm not sure if he'll be able to make the end of the race, but with that shorter pit stop time, I think it is a no-brainer for him to come into the pit lane, as we'll definitely see Wally in 6th place currently in that Porsche. Definitely will be needing to come in the pit lane in the next couple of laps, with just 7% left in his fuel tank.
What I like about this is I can draw parallels to one of my favourite motorsports, NASCAR, in that you always want to keep the car packed up with as much fuel as possible. Because under caution, when you pit at the exact same time as everyone else, the only way to make ground in the pit lane is to have a shorter fuel stop. And that's what happens when you hold on to as much fuel, or in this case, the hybrid, the fuel and the battery, as possible.
So in NASCAR, is it something similar where, especially on the road courses, where you've seen a slightly bigger separation between the cars compared to oval, but strategy plays a bigger part possibly?
A lot of the reason you see a larger field spread over a NASCAR race over on a road course is normally more to do with driver skill. Many different drivers who came into NASCAR have come from different backgrounds, whether it's dirt racing, oval racing, or even some road course races like Shane van Gisbergen. He's a Australian V8 Supercar champion multiple times and has several road course wins in the NASCAR Cup Series simply because of his road racing ability. And some drivers, veterans, are able to manipulate the car a little bit better to have it to turn left and right. That does have to happen eventually on a road course. And some of the younger drivers as well, drivers like Connor Zilic, very young, very talented, and able to pick up those road racing skills much easier than someone older, and perhaps, even though they might be more experienced, they might also, can't teach an old dog new tricks, they say, about some drivers. So yeah, it's more down to driver skill, I think, than strategy overall, especially on a road circuit where there are actually far fewer laps than you'd get on an oval. And yeah, overall.
Yeah, thank you for that insight into almost the world of NASCAR. We are watching Chong being chased down by Alexa Gates. Currently, Wally is in that pit lane, 95% in that virtual energy tank, and I think that could be a slight overfuel as we see Kemba as well diving into the pit lane of the 59. That is our first of the major front runners coming into the pit lane, trying to fuel up as much as possible. Will be interesting to see later on how much energy and fuel is put into that car for the remainder. 21 minutes left. Gates, Binder and Gora all on between 5 and 9% between them, so they'll definitely be coming in the next few laps. And it is McDevitt magically still on 18%. Lots of lifting and coasting, lots of relatively clean air racing, which has very much helped his race out. But this is not helping Alexa out, as there is traffic on the road of Chong. Getting past now is Gates with 7% left in the virtual energy. Make that 6% left in the tank. Will be interesting to see later on what happens in the strategy. But is Binder, who is currently behind Gates, coming into the pit stop. He has 3% left, 2% less than Gates, not quite enough to finish a full rotation of this track round here in Fuji. Now it is Gora behind on 5%, possibly able to make one more lap. It will be tough, but I'm not really sure why he would push himself and risk losing this fourth place, which I think it will be about net 6th actually of the pit stop phases, as he will be diving down into the pit stop. Now, as you can see, Kemba has not fully fueled his car. He is at 82% fuel capacity or virtual energy tank in that car, as we see Alexa, I imagine, will be diving into the pit lane this time around with 3% left in that virtual energy tank. McDevitt still leads the way though on 13%. He will definitely need to come in, but a little bit later on, or possibly even come in now. He will sacrifice a little bit of weight in the car, but will have a much faster pit stop than the likes of Alexa Gates, possibly securing his victory now, as we see Alexa Gates trying to push on with a 9.8 second gap for now.
If I was McDevitt in the lead, I'd be responding as soon as I possibly can to Gates, because Gates is looking very, very quick, and if she's going for that fourth race on the bounce, she will not be holding back. I think McDevitt needs to pit, top up the virtual energy tank, and just blast out some good laps in this final stint in order to retain that lead.
Yes, these pit stop phases are crucial. We've seen major changes in this year so far. We've seen Wally move up into 5th place last time around in the pit stop phase, back down to 7th place for now, even behind Chong, who is in the pit lane, who is doing for him a splendid job this race, keeping it on the dark stuff the majority of the time, making an early mistake though in 100R, but has been keeping his nose clean for the remainder of the race and will be in the pit stop, leaving the pits right about now, I imagine, with 83% left in the fuel tank, possibly overfueled a little bit. We'll see later on. Alexa Gates, though, in the pit lane with 80% in the battery. Mukdavit is still yet to pit, the final stopper of this pit stop phase, with just 17 minutes to go. We've had almost an hour worth of racing now. Mukdavit is your leader, going for one more lap at what's that, 6% energy. But these are your two remaining, or the two starters as well, hypercars of Coffin in that Cadillac and Fisher in that Toyota, fighting their way at the front of the field. Fisher with 32%, I don't believe will need to pit again, but Coffin definitely won't need to pit again unless, of course, they make contact with other cars or making mistakes their own and making contact with the wall, causing damage. Now, as we can see, we can see Mukdavit. I'm surprised it hasn't come into the pit lane yet. Still running out there with 4% left. We'll be going through turn 9 now into turn 10. Now, of course, without this chicane, it's a much faster corner, much flowing corner. Changes the whole dynamic of this final sector, because that first chicane in that sector is really difficult to get right. You need a great exit to power up the hill of this the final sector, as it is incredibly difficult to get absolutely perfect.
Well, the leader over to the pits this lap. It looked like he was. Yep. Into the pits comes McDevitt then. He said he needed to respond fast after Alexa pitted, and he is doing so right now with very little left in that virtual energy tank. And it's just going to be a quick splash and dash, I reckon, don't you?
Yeah, splash as little fuel as possible into that car. We're looking at about 70 to 60% between the remaining GT cars. Which percentage will Mukdavit go for? We're looking at around, I imagine, a 50% fuel tank for him, as he will be leaving the pit lane with just 15 minutes to go. But he's still refueling, he's still in that pit lane. This may give Alexa a slight advantage, but no, leaving the pit lane with, I believe, 68% of fuel in that tank will give him a slight advantage in front of Alexa Gates, but Alexa Gates chasing her 4th victory of the win of the season, 4-4-4 between 4 gates this year.
I too have also just had my own little pit stop, consisting of a pee break and a refill of my glass of water.
Yes, very much needed in this industry. With 14 minutes left to go, I'll be honest, I have drunk all my water. I'm onto the grapes, trying to soothe my throat a little bit, as I'm starting to get a sore throat as well, which, I'll be honest, isn't great, but I'll try and keep it all together as much as possible. 33 seconds now between the leader and second place. Coffin, the leader in that Cadillac, one last time out in Monza, last remaining hypercar around that circuit, and Fisher in second place in that number 60 Toyota. Early mistakes by both of them cost Fisher a lot more time, losing that full rear wing, needing to spend a slightly longer period of time in that pit stop, which has kind of gifted Coffin the early lead and the lead for the rest of the race. Not a single lap has gone by where Fisher has been at the top of that timing sheet.
I really do wonder where Fisher picked up that rear wing damage. Perhaps he had a moment and slid off backwards into a wall somewhere, but that really has been the defining moment of his race and has set him back too far, really, to recover ever since.
Yeah, it was a real shame to see Fisher making that mistake, and of course Coffin making a contact with one of the McLarens. I can't remember which one. Actually, I think it might have been McEwen when he was lapping. Now McEwen has retired. 10 laps to go as we are at lap 35 now. We possibly might get 45 laps of this. Sorry, not 35. I'm not looking at the right screen. We're on lap 39, possibly looking at around 47-ish laps, possibly for this endurance race with 12 laps to go. The pit stop phases are all over for the GTs. We may see one more for Fisher. Crucially for Coffin, he will not need to stop again.
You are more experienced in the world of endurance racing, the World Endurance Championship. In these final 12 moments, we're in the final stint of the race. Is this where the mistakes start to creep in from some drivers? Is this where that fatigue begins to settle in and we start seeing some crucial slip-ups and moments from drivers in the heat of battle?
Yeah, definitely, as we have seen a relatively large field spread between the remainder of the cars. But yeah, it is definitely something to look out for as we are in the dying stages of this race with just 11 minutes to go. It's definitely something to keep in mind. Little lockups, little mistakes, going a little bit wide could cost you multiple positions, especially in the GT class.
All right, good to know. Well, for their sakes, I do hope that they all keep it together in these final moments. Everyone's going to be a little tired. I know you are. You have your dry throat that you mentioned earlier. I've had to refill the water myself since. It's a long old evening for all of us, and the drivers just need to hold on for another 11 minutes, a few more laps around the circulating Fuji Speedway, and then across the checkered flag, and it's all done for.
Yeah, this is my third endurance race with the BUSR that I'm commentating on in the Le Mans Ultimate. I'll be honest, it doesn't get much easier as it is a challenge for both drivers and commentators, and of course producer as well, throughout this race, as we are watching the 31 leading the way for now. As Alexa actually is slowly closing up, but I think it might be just a little bit too late for her. With 10 minutes left on the clock to try and close down 19 seconds, she may be able to close up the gap, but it's one thing to close up, another thing to pass, especially around this circuit where really turn 1 is the easiest and most common place to overtake around this circuit.
Yeah, Gates will need to she'll need to start gouging time out of that lead at a rapid rate if she wants to was up to the back of the Corvette and have the chance to overtake before the end of the race. And for third place here, McLaren, it's looking like no challenge, no threats either way. On his way to delivering not an easy, I'd say. Of course, it's not going to be easy in an endurance race, but pretty secure third place finish.
Yeah, endurance racing is far from easy. Consistency is key round Fuji today. As we've seen, not a foot wrong for Muktovit this evening. With Alexa Gates also not putting a foot wrong, but having that drive-through penalty after lap 1. I'm still not sure, possibly jumping the start as she was near the back, which is not like her. She has been on pole at least in Monza and Sebring. So Alexa making or having a penalty which is very characteristic for her, trying to close up that gap for the lead of the race for McDevitt.
Now we're watching Chong from Hong Kong, if I'm correct in the flag placement in the rear window there. It's a really cool looking car, actually. That Merc, the burly V8, and what a lovely livery it also has on it. Not been the strongest of days, to be honest. And whoa, getting a bit squirrely, touching the grass on the exit of Dunlop. A good day is a day of points, and I think some good, decent points are heading in the direction of Chong today. Back to the race leader, McDevitt, and his glowing brakes, and he seems to be going all right so far. And there's Toyota in the pits once again with only 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, that will be a splash and dash, very much so. Clearly not quite having enough to finish the race on. Now that is extremely disappointing for Fisher, who would have wanted to challenge Coffin as much as possible. It's a real shame the gap has just spread out a little too much between the hypercars all day today. We have seen incredibly close battles in the past between the hypercars, 3 wide moments 2 weeks ago in Sebring, which is definitely a moment that I will not be forgetting any time soon. But it will be Coffin leading the way in the final 7 minutes of this race with 30% in the virtual energy tank, which is the same as Fisher, which has also got 30% in, but now crucially a lap behind.
I think this all stems really from having to pit early on for the rear wing damage. That's really thrown Fisher off sequence, and now as a result he's having to pit completely off cycle and has to go for 1 extra stop. Splash and dash, as we like to say, for the remaining few minutes of this race. And yeah, like we said, he's definitely down and out for the count in terms of winning this race. Has been all day. But podium is still a podium, and when the this class seems to be as energetic and close fought as you say it was, then I think second place is nothing to scoff at. Fine, Fisher.
Yeah, there's still points in that back pocket, which if other cars come back later on in the season, which I really, really hope so, to have a larger hypercar field, it will be very crucial later on in the championship to bag those second place points. Now, behind him, directly behind, I apologise, I did say he was a lap behind. I want to put my hands up and say he is not a lap behind just yet, as we see the Cadillac bearing down on the back of that Toyota. But in front, it is the Corvette leading the way. Talking about lapping, we'll be lapping Wally in that Porsche anytime soon, possibly a move down into turn 1.
Just saw the rear brake discs glowing on the Corvette, rear only, which tells me he's running quite a rearward bias on the brakes, and we'll see down towards turn 1 all 4 wheels I think will be lit up. And yeah, I think that's just a little interesting little detail I just noticed. I think the the Lamborghini of Alexa Gates earlier was using quite a forward bias. Her Lamborghini, only the front discs were really glowing in towards turn 1. As we head down towards turn 1, that is McDevitt putting Wally another lap down. There we go. Discs are glowing.
I think the crucial thing with setup and of course brake balance as well is the location on track you are and which part of the track you want to get right. We've got such a long back straight, we've got heavy braking zones, we've got long braking zones, we've got long winding corners, we've got short winding corners too. It is a mix of a little bit of everything around here in Fuji. So I think it is more crucial about which sector you really enjoy, which sector you really want stability in that braking zone, and you prioritize your setup and your car for that instance with 3 minutes 45 seconds left on the clock. It is Coffin leading the way in the hypercar class, and Fisher in second place. And in the GTs, it is still Mukdavit leading the way in front of Alexa in that Lamborghini, followed by Binder, Kemba, Gora, Wally, who is now a lap down, Chong, which is about to be 2 laps down, and sadly a retirement early on for McEwen, who has said actually in the YouTube comments, don't make me cry, lads. Trust me, I'll try not to make you cry, but you are currently 13 laps down and out of the race, which is a real shame for us to see.
Put a good show on, mate. You really did. Fantastic battle throughout the midfield there in the GT3 category. Unfortunately, it has spread out quite a lot since then, and we are watching things slightly stagnate into the latter stage of the race. But with just 2 minutes to go, we're winding down to what will pretty much almost guaranteed to be a Coffin victory in the hypercar class, and McDevitt still holding off Alexa Gates in the GT3 category. I really wish my home assistant would stop lighting up every time I say Alexa Gates, but hey.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm glad that I do not have an Alexa in my room. You know what, I'm going to punish you a little bit more. So, Kit, who is currently in second place? Can you just remind us?
In second place, we have Alexa Gates, who, with a minute and a half to go, or a minute and 54 to go, it's looking like she won't be able to retain a 100% race victory rate in BUSR so far. That's a stat I learned from none other than yourself. So thank you for that. 3 on the trot, and it will end there. Looking like no guarantees yet with a minute and 34 to go. And then, is it +1 lap, or?
I don't believe it will be. It will be when the leader crosses the line in the hypercar class. That will be Coffin, dependent on when the checkered flag falls. So when the clock ticks down to 0, Coffin will cross the line to complete that final lap. And I believe this could be the final lap of the race. Coffin in that Cadillac, chasing and bearing down that Toyota of Fisher. This is not sadly a lap, but Coffin not really a foot wrong this race. An early mistake in the first 15 or so minutes, making contact with a GT, firing him into the wall, having slight damage because of that pitting for a longer period. Both hypercars on a very strange strategy because of issues earlier on. Now Coffin not put a single foot wrong for the rest of this race. 20 seconds to go for this race, and we will see if this is a final lap, which I believe it will be, cruising to the finish line in just a couple of moments time.
Fantastic race from Coffin. Again, ever since the issues early on, he has not put a foot wrong. And there you go, as you mentioned, Fisher pulling over to do 1 less lap at the end there.
That will be a victory for Coffin, crossing the line to win here round Fuji. 2 wins in the trot now for the man driving that Cadillac. He's got to be pleased with that result, because that was definitely a result to be proud of. We are watching now Mukdavit in that Corvette, about to finish his race. Once again, leading from the green flag to the checkered flag. The 31 yet to cross the line. Not really a challenge from behind. Alexa Gates, I imagine if we had 20 minutes more, Alexa possibly could have done something. But of course, this is a 75-minute race, not a 90-minute race. She couldn't do anything this time around and will have to settle for second place. But it is the Corvette, the American manufactured Corvette, finishing the winning streak on Japanese soil. Currently, the light up board shows first place, and of course that means he is winning the race. God, I sounded like Will Buxton then. Anyway, final corners now, this final sector, trying to keep it cool, calm, collected, as we will see turn 16, Panasonic corner, rounding for the final time of this race. And it will be Mukdevit winning in the GT class. Absolutely beautiful racing today from the entire field. But Mukdevit, 9% left in the tank, weaving across the line, flashing his lights.